Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Wendy Yee.
And I'm Mike DeLisio.
And today we're talking about an expansion which kind of came as a bit of surprise.
Yeah.
Viticulture World, which sounds like a amusement park.
I'd go to that amusement park. I would go to that
You would go to
amusement
that
park.
one.
There's a vineyard near here. Have you ever gone to it?
The Merlot go-round. What was that now?
There's a vineyard here you can go visit, you know.
I did not know that.
Hey, there's
But
one
is
around
it a
here in
theme
Homestead.
park?
I don't know.
It
Anyway,
doesn't have roller coasters.
this is an
Does
expansion.
it make you feel drunk just walking in?
This is an expansion for viticulture. It also works with Viticulture Essential. And it even, I think and it works with part of Tuscany if you have that.
The structures module.
The structures module. It turns it into a cooperative game. Something that I usually, straight up, I rail against it to the point where there's almost none. Orleans is one of the few that I thought was okay as a cooperative game. Mm-hmm. But this changes it. You can play with up to 6 players. I've not tried six.
I wouldn't try.
I believe regular viticulture is the same.
Yeah,
it goes up.
But I'm saying that you can cooperate with that many players.
Sure.
And there's more to it, but why should I tell you? Mike, you do it.
You got it. Okay, here we see most of the components for Viticulture World, the expansion to viticulture that turns a competitive game into a cooperative game. A couple of things I want to point out here at the beginning is that I'm going to be going through this overview with an assumption that you understand how viticulture works, because this is essentially many of the same actions, many of the same round structures. It just changes from a competitive to a cooperative game. The second thing is that if you choose to play with the structures module from Tuscany, you can add those. You would just play on this side of the board. You can see the cards would go right there. If you choose to not use that, you would flip the board over and use this side of the board. It doesn't have those cards at the top. All right, so to win in Viticulture World, all the players are going to have to score at least 25 victory points, and the influence marker has to be at least at 10. Where it starts is going to be dependent on player count, 4 to 6 here, 2 to 3 here, solo right here, and you have 6 years to do that. All right? The other differences that you might notice is, first of all, it is a different board, but many of the spots are going to be similar to what you have seen before. You've got innovation tiles right here, you've got some seasonal worker hats, and you've got these new Mamas and Papas cards. And then finally, you've got the kind of deck that is going to determine how this plays out. So these Mamas and Papas cards are different in the sense that you can now play with 2 of the Papas or 2 of the Mamas, or keep the way that it was in the original game. They're going to, as normally, show you what your starting resources are, but if you use Mamas or Papas cards from the original game, no matter what, you're never going to have more than the 4 starting workers and the 1 grande worker. So, as you may be used to, you're also going to get some starting resources. I'm not doing that for the purposes of what we're doing, but just know that you would start with some of those resources, and you oftentimes are going to have a choice on those. Depending upon which deck you use, that's going to determine kind of how the game plays out. So, there are different continents in the game that they show off in the rule book here, and they are ranked by difficulty. And so what I'm going to show you here is just the introductory deck, which is Green Gully. If you have played Charterstone, that is kind of the world of Charterstone, and you can see they go down through different continents and get more challenging as you go down. So what you would do is you would look at the top card, and it's going to tell you the setup and the special rules that apply for this game, and a little bit of background story, things along those lines. But this is the first card that really is going to give you the gameplay meat of it. All right, so it talks about innovation, and this is going to give you a new action spot. So you basically would have that there, and you'd have a new action spot that you can go to as a player. A couple of things I want to point out is that now when you play viticulture, you start with 2 winter seasonal workers, and they're denoted by these blue hats that you can see that go right on your workers there, and you have 2 summer seasonal workers that you put the yellow hats on. You still have your grande worker as normal. As in base viticulture, you're going to choose a spot to start in, a starting boon, and you're going to also have these innovation tiles that are turned face up. Actually, this one had said at the very beginning to put the innovation tile piece to the side of the board. So I went ahead and did that. But otherwise, you would go ahead and put out these 2 rectangle innovation tiles and the 2 oval innovation tiles. All right. When you go to a spot, like in regular viticulture, the first spot is open in games for 1 to 3 players, and if you're going 4 to 6, then you'd have that second spot that would not be available to you in a game with 1 to 3 players. So you would place one of your workers out. However, now we've got these seasonal workers, and so what that means is that this is the summer part of the board, this is the winter part of the board. If you wanted to place in summer, you'd have to put out one of your summer seasonal workers or your grande worker. All right. So as in regular viticulture, you would go to a spot and take the action for that spot. A couple of things I do want to point out are, right, like here, it says pay 4 lira to gain 1 innovation tile. So if I went there, I would pay 4 lira and I can gain 1 of these tiles and place it out here on the board. So what do these do? These rectangle tiles are going to be better versions of spots that are on the board. So this shows a G right here. This is modifying this spot. So right here, it's pay 1 to gain 1, and you can see it is 2 cards, 3 lira, a red or white grape, or a victory point. You can pay 1 of any of those to gain any other one. This now becomes pay 1 to gain 2, so it's a better spot. These oval spots are going to do a couple of things. Number 1 is that they're going to make it so that any number of workers can go there now. So now you are not limited to just 1 or 2 depending on player count. Also, if these workers became trained, which is something that you can do over here in winter, you remove one of the hats and now they would get this associated bonus. So if this was a seasonal worker, you would still take the action, but you wouldn't get that bonus of 1 lira. If you had trained this worker, or if you had put your grande worker there, you would gain that bonus and then still take the action. So that's kind of how these 2 innovation tiles work. The rectangle ones improve the spots. The oval ones make them so that they are open to any number of workers and give you a boon if they are a trained worker. You might notice that some of these spots have something printed. So if you wanted to put an oval innovation tile here, you would have to pay 2 lira. If you put one here, all players would gain a victory point. You can see that throughout the board. So summer would play out the same way you would normally would, where you're putting out either your summer seasonal workers or your grande worker. The fall bonus is going to be right here in the middle. You would choose one of these fall bonuses. And then you would go into winter, where you would be placing your winter seasonal workers or your grande worker, depending if you had still had it and you hadn't played it in the summer. The main differences in this side are what I mentioned a moment ago, which is training. You can pay 4 lira to train any of your workers. And the other big one here is spot P, which is pay 8 lira to gain an influence. So that's going to be one of the primary ways for you to gain influence throughout the game, is to go to that spot. It's a lot of money, and money is tight in this game. As it was in original Viticulture, it's still tight in Viticulture World, but that's going to be one of the primary ways that you move this up. And again, you cannot win the game if you do not have this marker at the very edge, and all players at least 25 points. You do notice that there's a marker here. If someone's able to get their victory points above that spot one time, you can also move the influence tracker up. All right. Each round, you'd be revealing a new event card that is going to add, in this case, some new worker spots. So again, these are places you could place workers. And there are a number of different decks in the game, as you saw at the beginning, that are all going to have not only some differences to the setup and rules, but they're going to have some nice thematic tie-ins to whatever particular region there is in the game, and it's going to change out how it plays. That is the basics. Everybody at least 25 points, influence all the way to the top. That's how you win. If you can't do that in 6 years, then you collectively lose. Let's head back over and we'll let you know what we think about it.
Okay, before we talk about this expansion, just to give a baseline, where's everybody at with base viticulture?
Like score-wise?
Yeah, like how much you like it.
It's grown on me over the years. I've played it a ton, and so I'd probably give it like a 7.5.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean between Viticulture and then with Tuscany, either way, I still give it like an 8.5 or a 9. Probably with Tuscany about a 9.
Yeah, I'm same way. Without Tuscany, it's very good. With Tuscany, it's amazing.
It's
I
so
love
much
it. It's
better.
one of my favorite games.
Yeah, me too. It's in my top 100. It's in the top half of my 100.
So you like it the least, but you still like it.
I still really like it, yeah. There's some inherent flaws to it. I don't love the cards and the randomness of that. Like that, I think, pulls it down quite a bit for me.
Love
But I
it.
still enjoy it. Still enjoy it a lot.
So let me ask you the second question then. What were your initial thoughts when you heard there's a cooperative expansion? Because I just to be straight up, I was very much like, yeah, right.
I was so excited.
Were you?
I was so excited, yeah.
I thought it'd be clever. I thought it would have to be clever for me to enjoy it.
I was intrigued. It was not a game that I thought would lend itself well to a cooperative implementation. When I first heard it, I thought, really?
I think that's why I was excited, because I was like, oh, if they're going to do this, I think they're going to do it right. And so, I'm also one of those people that I wish there was more crunchy co-op games that have a lot of deep strategy, not just a lot of, hey, let's see what bad stuff happens to us each round.
That's true. There's very few of those.
Right.
Yeah, and so unless there was going to be like your crops being destroyed.
Yeah,
but
for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a question, if you don't mind, since you brought it up, Wendy. You're not the only one who complains about the card draw. A lot of people in base Tuscany, they think that that's their biggest issue with the game is this random card draw. The fact that you now can trade with other players, do you feel like just the fact that now that you can do that, does that mitigate some of that randomness of the card draw to you? Do you think that makes it less of an issue now?
I think it's the main thing that gets traded.
Sure. I mean, you could trade a number of things, but that would probably be
Every time you put your
the number one.
grande out, I'm like, hey, you know what?
Where someone else
I'm
is.
trading for two reasons. One, to play you need the card or whatever. Or two, I'm going to discard down, and I don't want to.
Sure, I'd rather at least
Hand
just
it
pump
off.
this out. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, did you find that was a...
I didn't feel like it fixed the problem because I feel like we often were expanding kind of around the same time. So early on you want the lower wine cards, later on you want the higher wine cards. And I felt like it was the same, that if we were just drawing tons of lower ones at the end of the game, nobody wanted them.
All right.
So I didn't feel like
is
it
true.
fixed it. Yeah.
Does it work as a cooperative?
Yes.
100%. Yeah, this is a really, really smart approach to turning this game into a cooperative game.
Okay, I will grudgingly say yes. Actually, I'm more impressed than that.
Okay.
Because I feel like you're getting multiple cooperative games.
Yes.
The different things in here are really different.
The different,
The
consonants.
consonants. It's really different. It's a small self-serving, hey, haha, this is, what's the first one? It's
Good Charterstone.
Charterstone.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, whatever. I got that. But when Eternal King showed up, I didn't want to smack that guy in the face because I hate the Eternal King.
But that's almost more of a tutorial, right?
I get
that
it.
leads you through how kind of this changes things up, which is also a smart approach, I might add.
But
Very
that being
smart.
said, even though I think it works, and I really like that there's different ones, the order that the cards come up randomly in here, I think, is more random than the random cards are, because you might get that one cool thing that helps you out the whole game as the first card.
You're talking about
But
the event
they
deck?
tell you that the standard difficulty essentially
Is in order,
is
I
to
get
do them
that.
in order, and it's
But if you-
harder if you do them out
Oh
of
my
order.
word, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it is way harder, yeah.
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 But this is bringing that up. This is a game that does well in scaling difficulty as well, I think, too. There are easy ways to do that. The easiest way, just by going in the order of those continents, right? They tell you right away, this is a beginner one. This one's a little bit more challenging. This one's really tough.
Well, the beginner one at one point is like, here's some points.
Basically.
I know.
Take some
You're gonna
points.
need
You're like,
these.
oh,
Take some
thanks.
points. Yeah. But again, I think it's a smart approach.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase, not the cards approach, but the upgrades.
Oh.
If at the very beginning of the game, you can
Yes.
upgrade something that you will use every turn.
Yes.
Like, let's say, for example, the one game I played, that you flip it over, and now on turn one, we can start upgrading our workers for a cheaper price.
Yes.
Holy cow,
Oh
that's
my
great.
goodness. Yeah.
You get that turn 5, I don't care.
I do agree, and
yeah.
I don't really like the arrows for the upgrading on spaces. So you're saying you get the benefit of a space above it. Well, I didn't upgrade anything above it, so what's the point of that?
I would have
Like,
dropped
that's-
those arrows. I would
that
actually
was-
prefer those been like a coin and an arrow. Then I would have been more excited about the arrow.
Maybe
I just
so.
wish they didn't exist.
I have a strong sense that we just haven't, maybe any of us, played in a game where we were able to do something really clever with those, because I do have a feeling those could probably pull off some very clever moves. I personally am with you in the sense that I haven't
so
found them to be
specific.
too useful yet, but I have a feeling that they may be situationally pretty powerful.
Situationally great, yeah,
But
because
if
they
you
also
just-
have to be adjacent actions, and
Right,
they also
right.
have to have simpatico benefits. You know, yeah, it's situational, but I'd rather just always be like, get 3 coins or draw a green card.
Yeah.
That kind
Could you
of
have
thing.
just gotten rid of all of those and just had a single one that said, like,
Maybe.
copy another
Sure.
thing
Maybe.
on the board?
Another design decision. I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, that's
No,
true.
no.
You very much could have done
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
You're not upgrading the last round anyways.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
It's you
Yeah,
don't need excess.
A smart design decision, I think, is that those spaces that you're going to want to upgrade the most have costs.
Oh,
and the
my
ones that you're
goodness.
maybe not going to be as hot to do are going to give you a boon. And I think that's a smart kind of design. It's a gamery thing, 100%. But I think it was smart, because if you didn't do that, then I would have felt like, well, this is a no-brainer. You know what I mean? Well, now this adds a little bit of a decision to that process.
And someone has to eat that cost. It's not it's not a shared cost. And so, especially that first round, if you get a really good one, you're like, oh, okay,
Sure.
who's
Yeah.
going to take it so we all can benefit?
Right.
I guess I'm complaining more that if you don't get it the first round.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, the designers get me. If there's one way to get me, it's how to upgrade a worker placement space.
Oh my gosh!
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, please.
Yeah, make the space better, make it cheaper, make it more efficient, and that's the rectangle ones, and the oval ones, as many people can go to a spot.
It's almost a little bit from Scythe, right?
Yeah.
It feels like they took that idea from Scythe where the things get better.
Okay.
Yeah, like
I
the
see what you're saying.
upgrading idea. Yeah, no, just the fact that those, first of all, they work nice in synergy, but those oval tiles, they just are they're just so important, because again, not only do they allow you to have as many workers as you want, but if you've trained your workers, then you get that boon too, and that also incentivizes you to train your workers. It just, I don't know, you start restricted, and by the end of the game, I feel like you've got so many more options, which is also something I like in cooperative games.
But it's also really tight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's
yeah.
incredibly
very
tight.
hard
Very
to beat
tight.
this game.
Yeah.
We're this many minutes into the review, and you've not mentioned the hats. That really surprises me.
I was actually, so I have a neutral and a negative.
Okay.
My neutral thing is, I think, and I know everyone will be like, no, once you play it, it gets shorter. This definitely, I think, lengthens the game. You start with all your workers, so that's already going to make the turns go a little bit longer. And depending on how discussive your group is, and I would hope they would, because it makes the game more fun.
Sure.
I think it's not as short. It doesn't shorten the experience. I think it would be a normal game of Viticulture, a little bit longer.
I agree. It's definitely longer than Viticulture.
I also, my slightly, and it's a very slight negative, I don't actually like the hats as much as you might think, because they're fiddly and they keep falling off.
I wish they
if that
did
was the
better.
case, then you're doing it wrong. You gotta you cram those hats on there. They're not coming off, Tom. I guarantee you.
But then you
You're
gotta take the hat off, Mike.
So you just pop it
Yeah,
right
they
off.
pop up. So
It's
what
going
the hat-
nowhere until you
I'm going to show you how to
it
put the
off.
hats on after
So
we're
the
done
fact
with
that the
this.
hats represent seasonal workers,
Yeah,
right? They can work in either season.
Also,
when you get to
It's
upgrade
degrading
those,
to people who wear hats, by the way. I'm not no seasonal worker.
all right, well, I'm going to make a good point here. Okay,
We work during the board game season.
I'm going to make a good point here.
Okay.
Upgrading those workers feels amazing.
It does.
It
Yes.
feels so good. That is the type of thing I love in worker placement games, when your when your workers actually get upgraded. But it's not even an easy decision, because you have to decide: do I upgrade a summer or
Right.
a winter worker? Because I know late game I'm going to want more winter actions, but right now I kind of want to have more summer actions. So depending where you are in the swing of things, it's not always an easy choice which worker to upgrade.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
That
I
wasn't
do.
that good of a point.
It's a great point.
I'm just saying that it bugs me slightly that upgrading is taking the hat off. I'm not better now.
Well,
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, you're back.
No, I'm just kidding about that. I don't really care.
Yeah.
I like the hats. I mean, I just found that they would sometimes fall
They're
off,
a
or
little
the
fiddly.
person topples over, and that can't be fixed.
that is
falls
true.
off, yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
You get a little
This is the
top
most
heavy.
minor points. I think it would be tough, but I think you could fit all this in a box. There's not a lot of stuff in here.
Maybe.
Not in
If you
your
took out the
box.
insert of the original
The
game,
essential.
maybe.
No, I'm saying if you have just essential without the extra stuff.
Without Tuscany, you could,
Right.
but we have crammed Tuscany and a few
Sure.
extra things into our original box, and there's no way this would fit.
I don't know that you would want to, though. This does feel like when I bring this out, we are now
It's a
playing
separate
a
game.
different game This isn't just Viticulture. This is a totally new game using Viticulture's stuff.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you on that or not. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I think I agree with your sentiment, but I feel like if you've played Viticulture before, you could teach this to somebody in 5 minutes.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm saying I don't think that you will necessarily like it. Just no. If you like Viticulture, I'm not guaranteeing you like this because I know some people who don't want to play co-op.
Sure, no, that's of course, but that's just I think a taste of co-op or not. I do think if you like Viticulture and you like cooperative games, you're very likely to like this.
Sure, I get
See,
that.
I thought the point that you were making is that you're not going to pull this out with regular Viticulture, so might as well keep it separate. You're never going to like.
You have to be in a different mindset.
You have to be in a mindset,
say,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's
Yes.
play
You're
this
say,
one.
we're
Yeah, I
playing
agree.
this
That's
game
what I
today.
mean. We're playing Viticulture World or we're playing
But
Viticulture.
I feel that I
Yes.
feel that way if I'm playing Tuscany or I'm playing Essential. Like
no.
we're playing Tuscany today,
It's only
or
Tuscany.
we're playing.
No. There is no such thing. I will never play Viticulture again without Tuscany. I'm not kidding.
Really?
Yes, except when I played with this because I had to.
Maybe it's just because I played it the most without Tuscany.
Yeah,
That
that
to
could be
me, like
too.
it's a totally different game.
So let's go through this. Let's go through our final thoughts and scores, but also say which one you prefer better, regular or this one, because I'm curious as that too.
Okay, I
Man,
It's gonna be a pop
I'm gonna
quiz.
have a hard time with that.
I super prefer this one. I'm gonna give this one
yeah,
a
no problem.
9 because I love super deep thinky co-op games that don't have a lot of randomness. This has more than I want it to be in it, but I've come to accept that in Viticulture, and so I accept that in
You have
this.
to accept that in all games.
And
I'm
I know I'm a hot mess. No, but it made me very happy to play, and I wish that we could keep playing it all. I want it all, and I want to play it now. So I'm giving it a 9.
You went full queen on it. You want it all, and you want it now. I'm also going to give this game a 9 because I really like this expansion a ton. The way that we play cooperative games is very discussive, very group table discussion and everything.
Yeah, I like playing that way myself.
And that's what you need to do with
Yes.
this one.
With this,
It's
so you
tricky.
super do.
It's not an easy co-op game. Even the tutorial scenario.
Yeah.
I feel like as a tutorial, maybe it could have been a little bit easier.
Yeah, come
Sweet
on.
bag.
Yeah.
But this hits some of the same things. Like we play CO2 Second Chance, so a cooperative Vital Acerta game.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is not as difficult because it's
Right.
the framework of Viticulture, but I feel like it's almost as thinky, and that's what I really like about it. Kind of a welcoming framework, a lot of deep decisions. That's a 9 from me.
All right, well, I'm not trying to be a downer here. I liked it. I like it. It's an 8. Okay, that's not bad. I really like it. I, though, would play this, I would say, for me, it would be like 1 out of 4 times.
Okay.
I would rather play the competitive, see who wins. I just really like that. It's one of my favorite games. But this was good. I'm not going to waffle on. I'm mostly impressed with how different each of the things is.
Yeah.
That's really cool. One
Absolutely.
gives you
They're very
personal
different, yeah.
goals. One gives you different.
Upgrade on
It changes.
the board.
Yeah.
There's cards that cover the board.
Right, yeah, which is great.
That always pleases me.
Especially when they match up with the artwork and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, yeah.
I really like that sort of thing. So
Yeah, extra tracks. Each continent is
New spaces you can go that
interesting.
change every
And
round.
thematic too. They actually did some nice thematic integrations of these different continents too, which is great.
Yeah.
So that works for me, and I'm excited to see more stuff from this is new designers, or at least one of them is, and I'm excited about that too.
Yeah. Here's where get your typing fingers ready to say the groupthink because I'm coming at a 9 as well. I think the trickier question for me is not what I rate this, but which would I rather play because it's very much going to be what mood I'm in.
That's
Probably
reasonable.
You know what
depends
I mean?
on who's at the table.
That-
Well, did you play
honestly.
the solo version?
I did actually play the solo, so I've played both.
So I'm sure you'd rather play solo co-op than solo competitive.
Yes. Yeah. The solo, because the solo in this still allows you to trade, and it's a different approach. The base solo for Viticulture is as simple as you can get. It just blocks spots.
Yeah.
This is a little bit more involved. So yes, as a solo experience, not even a question. This is a better solo experience. Overall, it's a 9. This is one where almost every time I was encountering something new, I was like, that is so smart. That is so smart. It's just one of those
Yeah,
games
it's
where
good stuff.
not only do I appreciate the design, I actually enjoy playing it too. It's not just one that I appreciate more than I like. I appreciate the design and I like the game. So, 9.
And lest people accuse us of groupthink, we played this in 3 separate settings.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
we all came to this and said, wow,
Yeah,
this is
none
really
of us
great.
have played together, right?
But Wendy and I.
We
You and I
have,
have,
yeah.
yeah. All right, so yours are invalid, but yours
Well,
are
you
mine.
need to stop doing that.
Did anybody play at 6?
No.
I absolutely refuse
I don't
to.
want to play regular Viticulture at
No.
6.
And I think this goes to 6 simply because the base game does.
Yes.
It'd be weird to say, here's the 4-player expansion.
Right.
Alrighty, well there you go. It's Viticulture World, an expansion for Viticulture. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Mike Felicio.
Say something Italian.
Buonasera,
Italiano.
I think.